Steeler Nation, what you're looking at here is a hallmark of a franchise, the New York Jets. Every single franchise should look to this organization and think, how do I be like the Jets? How do I win multiple Super Bowls? How do I get to multiple playoff appearances? How do I not scrub draft picks? Well, actually, that's the exact opposite of what they should do. Every single franchise, whatever the Jets do, when the Jets do Jets things, they should look the opposite. This is a little slideshow on how the Steelers ended up with one of the greatest football players of all time, in my mind, and one of the greatest Steelers of all time that may go unnoticed. How did the Steelers end up with James Farrior? Well, it all starts with the Jets. Funnily enough, it starts with Jets, Jets. The Jets, over 2 years, 1995 season and the 1996 season, laid the foundation for the number 8th pick in the 1997 draft, James Farrior. The Jets went 4-28 in 2 years. Just imagine that for a second. 4-28 in 2 years. And our Steeler fans are worried about being 3-3 at this moment in time. How crazy. You lose 28 games in 2 years. This will go on to show that the Jets had multiple draft picks and future Hall of Famers that they lost over the few years. One of the reasons why the Jets went 1-5 in the 1996 season was in the previous draft, the Jets held the number 1 pick in 1996, and they end up drafting Keyshawn Johnson, receiver out of USC. He was rumored to go number 1, but you have to question what other players might have gone in Keyshawn's place. Now, before this, the Jets were cheering, were so excited, so crazily in love that this pick was going to happen. And Keyshawn went number 1 overall and number 1 to the Jets. Now, in this draft as well, the Hall of Famers such as Marvin Harrison, Ray Lewis, Terrell Owens, Jonathan Ogden, Brian Dawkins, all these guys would end up to be a future Hall of Famer. However, the Jets' 1996 season didn't pan out so well. They went 1-15. And Keyshawn Johnson, the receiver, would end up 4 years later being traded to the Buccaneers, and he would end up also winning a Super Bowl. So it's kind of funny what, as we say, the Jets do Jets things. They just miss out on these opportunities where they trade good players and they miss future Hall of Famers, which really could have changed the whole organizational structure. Imagine seeing Ray Lewis there, Jonathan Ogden, or even Brian Dawkins. It would have been such beneficial for the Jets organization. However, it didn't happen, and it's just kind of funny. This brings it all back to the same point, though. With a really bad season in 1996, they went 1-15. They yet again also held the number 1 draft pick. With that pick, they would trade the number 1 draft pick to the Rams. And who picked up the number 1 draft pick? Another future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, and Pro Football Hall of Famer. I said that twice because he's that damn brilliant. Orlando Pace for the Rams, and he was part of the greatest show on turf. So you got to put all these things together back in the end of the 90s, and you really got to think, wow, Jets, you suck. You're terrible. What are you doing? Okay, enough picking on the Jets, and for the reason why we are here to talk about James Farrior. Round 1, they would trade back to the number 8th spot, and they would eventually pick up James Farrior from Virginia. Now, James Farrior was a hard-hitting tackler, and you could already see as he was eventually let go by the Jets and picked up by the Steelers, he just had steel in his blood. So he was a Jet for a little bit of time. However, he was a football player. He's a hard-hitting tackler. From some of the college highlights I saw, he just was unbelievable. And I'm so happy that the Jets stuffed it up again, and they let him go. The Jets in 1997 did end up playing much better, and they had a better record at 9-7. And that was also due to the new head coach and two-time Super Bowl champion, Bill Parcells, helping to restore the team's order. Okay, here's the fun part of the James Farrior story. And somebody who gets paid more than me might be able to explain it better. As at the very moment, and what you're watching right now is only a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm restricted to resources. However, the key point is James Farrior was picked up by the Steelers, and he went into the City of Champions. There we go, our Pittsburgh Steelers. 2002, the Jets let Farrior go, and some of the experts can tell you, but I'm not too sure why. However, for the purpose of this exercise, who cares? James Farrior was a Pittsburgh Steeler. That's all I care about. That's all you care about. In history right now, James Farrior was one of the best inside middle linebackers that we ever saw. So it's quite comical and quite funny how the Jets got rid of Farrior. And as we know from history and well into the future, the Jets will always end up doing Jets things. They just can't escape and get out of their own way. Pittsburgh Steelers acquired James Farrior. And as a Steeler fan, I say thank you to the Jets organization for letting him go. Thank you so very much. The Jets. What have you done? You missed out on a Hall of Fame Orlando Pace. You picked up Farrior with the number 8 overall pick. And then a few seasons later, you said, nah, we don't want greatness. We'll see you later, mate. The old silly Jets. Thank you for releasing one of the best middle linebackers to ever play the game. And thank you for releasing such a great Steeler who helped the Steelers win 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 40 and Super Bowl 43. All right. Need to chill just a little bit. Let's take a few moments to watch this highlight reel for our mate, James Farrior. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, want to give a quick shout out to Roger McGuinn YouTube channel. This is where I found the James Farrior highlights. So let's enjoy these quick highlights and react to them. Thanks, mate, for putting this up. And I'll put the link in the description where you can go and check out his highlights as well. He's got a small little YouTube page. He does highlights for players that aren't so popular, as was James Farrior. And he's even got a Dan Creeder one as well in there with our Steelers. So check out Roger McGuinn on YouTube, and we'll come up with player highlights. Let's check out some James Farrior stuff right now. Here we go. James Farrior, Potsy with the Jets, getting drafted. Back in the old days, before he was a Steeler, and they really did stuff up. He's such a great tackler and a sure tackler, and just head on and just said, see you later. Like, yeah. The Jets are a funny little organization, aren't they? Let's be real. They're a funny. There's Coach and Farrior together. The Chin, Porter as well. He was also a leader in the locker room too. Hard-hitting middle linebacker. He's a bit like how Spillane plays too. You've got to give him that props there. Spillane would be someone similar to what James Farrior is like. James Farrier's better coverage as well. Taking on Peyton Manning there. He just went in with full steam. He was always so fun to watch. Look how fast he is in there. Oh boy, he hits on Westbrook right there. Just on a mission, taking down McNabb. Oh, such a great Steeler. He was just so fun to watch. And yeah, thanks Roger McGuinn for doing these highlights. There's a pig. Take it the whole way. That's a pig. He almost went the whole way right there. Jason Campbell in the Super Bowl takes on Kurt Warner. See you later, mate. Take away Patriot. The Browns coming up. See you later. He was just that was unbelievable. Knocked him into next week. Oh my Lord. We miss players like this. We miss a player like James Farrior, one of my favourites for sure. Taking his own team, didn't care about his body. Maybe these shots could be penalties and money today, but he just didn't care. Didn't care. He was one of the greats. After being picked up from the Jets, James Farrior had one hell of a career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 51 was 10 years as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Just imagine that. We got to watch a middle linebacker like Farrior run up and down that field, chase everyone down, tackles, force fumbles, interceptions. The amount of just play this man did, what he did for the Steelers was amazing. He played 154 games and started every single one. Every time he stepped onto the field, he was the first man on there because he started every single one. Farrior had 8 interceptions and 1 TD. Farrior also had 53 pass deflections and 12 forced fumbles. While getting into the backfield, Farrior had 30 sacks. But maybe the biggest statistic of them all was the 1,085 tackles this man did on the field. He was a true Steeler. And he still is a true Steeler. He's one of my all-time favorites. 740 solo tackles. 345 assisted. So half the time, he didn't need any help. He didn't need any help at all. He was a bullet to the ball carrier. 2 times Super Bowl champion. Super Bowl 40 and 43. 2 times Pro Bowler, which maybe he could have been more. Maybe he could have been much more. But for us, he was all that we needed. And 1 times All Pro. Now these stats alone are only reflective of his regular season. In the playoffs alone, with 7 years with Pittsburgh and 2 years with the Jets. But we'll focus on Pittsburgh. 7 years of Pittsburgh, he had 2 interceptions in the playoffs. He had 771 tackles in total in the playoffs. That's amazing. Which he played 16 games and started 15 of those, including those 2 Super Bowls, might I add. 31 tackles assisted. So, solo tackles, he had 740. Just think about that number. Out of the 700 tackles, according to Pro Football Reference, 740 was by himself. So that's good. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. Now, that number may be wrong, but it feels like it's right. That's unreal. And 6 tackles for loss in the playoffs. James Farrior was a true Steeler. One that we'll never, ever forget about. And his tenure as a Pittsburgh, he may not make the Hall of Fame, but he's definitely in the Steelers' Ring of Honor. Thanks, everyone, for checking that video out. That was a lot of fun to make, really hard to make as well. I'm still trying to figure out so many things to do with the technology and just making videos in general is kind of hard, as I still need to get the bloody haircut. But yeah, making the videos it's quite. I think I need to try and figure out how to get an editing platform. Yes, it's a bit janky. Yes, I'm using PowerPoint. Yes, I'm using old school year 12, year 10 ideologies of like trying to get things together. Actually took me a few hours to do that, so hopefully people will watch that. But pretty much just want to express how much like I do want to try and keep doing these in the future. Maybe do a look back at the past once every month or once every few weeks. And I thought about the other day, I wanted to start with James Farrior. He's the guy that I watched as a kid or when I was growing up watching the Steelers. When I first started to watch the Steelers in 2003, I think it was, 2003 or 2002, around that time, and I was trying to figure out how the NFL worked. He was the first person that I really put my eyes on and thought, what's this guy doing with the big neck roll? What's he doing? Chasing down quarterbacks. This looks kind of fun. This looks really fun, you know? which also, like, when I also bought the game Madden 2004, when Madden was a good game, not like these days where Madden's a piece of trash. I do have it, but it's just, I got Madden 20. It's terrible. We used to play James Farrior, or his character, the middle linebacker, where you'd have control of the whole defense. He was the guy that, like, when you loaded into the defense, his name always came up first. So Farrior was that person that we always got to control as kids, I'd say, to learn and understand the game, how to blitz, how to cover the running backs coming out of the field, how to cover the tight end going up the field, how to cover the slot routes. James Farrior was that guy. And James Farrior also, with all those tackles in general too, he had over 1,000 tackles, over 1,700 tackles. I do need to look up the statistic how he had 700 solo and 38 in the playoffs. That doesn't seem like it makes too much sense, but I'll look into that. It could be right. It could be very wrong. The point is, though, using James Farrior when I saw him on Madden was so much fun to see him again in real life when he played for the Steelers. The Jets let go a key piece. The Jets could have used his tenacity, his physicality, his willingness to just hurt people. And you saw that in the playoffs. You saw that with the Steelers and James Farrior, 2-time Super Bowl champion. I wanted to start off with him and give him a shout out because he was the first player that I really looked towards, that I was like, yeah, like, he's cool. Like, that guy, like, yeah, he's all right. You know, like he's having a dig. He's having a real shot at trying to hurt some people. And then just the fact that it was 2004 defense and they went into the Super Bowl next few years later, stuck around for Super Bowl 43. James Farrior is in the Ring of Honor as well inside Pittsburgh Stadium. If you ever get there, there's a whole placard of people's names and their footballs and their story. He's one of the guys that, you know, our defense today needs to look up to James Farrior and say, hey, mate, like, how can we help? How can the band of brothers get together? How can I get better as in this team and as the culture is? If you don't know about him, that's great. Hopefully you learned a few things. Like I said, the PowerPoint or the video is kind of sketchy. I'm not a genius. I maybe need to put some money together and like start to edit things, but I couldn't in this idea what I wanted to do, like the throwback to yesteryear, or look into the Steelers players, their culture, their coaches, key moments, key plays, anything to do with their history and lore. We're going to jump into it, hopefully once a month or twice a month, if it becomes popular. But I'll keep doing it. This is what's so fun over was it 1993? How many? It's almost, oh boy, it's coming up to 2033, and that will be 100 years of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's so much to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown of James Farrior. It was really fun to put together. I've learned a few things. I've learned what not to do. I've learned how to use my time better in putting these videos all in one go. So I hope you guys enjoyed the highlights from our mate from YouTube, and just the video in general. That was a really fun time. So if you guys stuck around to the end, I appreciate it. I've got other things coming out, and I'll trying to pump out things as fast as I can so we can have fun and basically just to create conversation. That's all we want to do, is create conversation. Who was the best linebacker? You might have thought it was maybe James Harrison off the edge, or Lamar Woodley at the time. Was that 2004 defense and 2008 defense all built around Troy Polamalu, who I'm wearing right now? So many questions. Had a lot of fun with it. Cheers, guys, everyone. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.